I'm on Jeju Island in South Korea in January of 2026, at a place that has a tragic history for both the country of Korea, both North and South, and my country, the United States, because of something that happened here in the late 1940s, something that wasn't allowed to be spoken of for decades. In fact, you could be imprisoned or punished for even mentioning what happened here. And what happened was a massacre of 30,000 villagers. 100,000 Korean villages were destroyed, and it all happened while Korea, then divided, was being run by the Americans, identically to how Venezuela is being run now, under a American governorship. So let me set the scene for you. It was the late 1940s. Korea had been under the cruel thumb of the Japanese for 36 years. Hundreds of thousands of Koreans had been sent into Japanese slave labor camps. Their women had been made comfort women for the Japanese army. And finally, what? The Americans win, they beat the Japanese, and they come in and they liberate the peninsula of Korea. Now, it's important to remember that in that period of time, the late 40s, the United States was an ally of the then Soviet Union. And those two great powers decided to split Korea up into its two halves, North and South, with a 5-year plan to democratically allow the Korean people to choose their own destiny. Of course, you had emerging competing ideologies. You had the Soviet Union saying communism is the best way forward, and you had the Americans saying capitalism is the best way forward, and the Koreans were supposed to decide under UN chartership. Well, the road to hell is paved with good intentions, and that actually never happened, of course. As we know now, the two halves are in a frozen conflict. They're still legally at war with each other. And it all started right here on Jeju Island in 1948. And that's where the tragedy happened. The islanders, like most Koreans then and now, did not want a divided country. North and South Koreans speak the same language. Family roots going back thousands of years crisscross the artificial border set up by the UN. The Koreans are one people and they want a unified country. The US was willing to hold a general election in 1948, but only in the South. That was not general enough for the islanders. They wanted the whole country to vote, and they took to the streets of Jeju to express their discontent. The Americans running Korea at that time feared a communist uprising, labeled the street protesters Reds, and allowed ice-like policemen to put down the protests with an iron fist. Many of these so-called policemen were the very Japanese who had terrorized Korea for 36 years prior. You can imagine what happened. The protests got out of hand, shots were fired, one of them killing a young girl. This enraged the islanders, and the protests grew. The police brought in more of their thugs, and a massacre ensued, all while the Americans turned a blind eye, or worse, actually provided support. Sound familiar? It's history rhyming through the centuries. My hope is that one of our American presidents will visit the memorial on Jeju Island, apologize for my country's role in the massacre, and pay their respects to the victims and their families. It's the least we can do. What do you think?